Hey everybody, welcome to Grimsforge Gaming. Today I'm going to give you an update to our Stamina Sorcerer build here, and we're running two-hander and bow on the back bar, and we'll jump right into the build here, look at the gear, and then go through a couple different changes for you guys. So the first thing we're doing is we're running two separate monster sets because of the additional armor bonuses. I might come off of this. And so what we might do is switch our armor sets around to account for the Ring of the Wild Hunt. And I'll have to play around with that a little bit more. I think speed is king in PvP, and it is a lot of fun to be very fast on a lot of my different builds. As a matter of fact, I even put the Ring of the Wild Hunt on my Sorcerer last night and was zooming at speed cap all around Imperial City, nuking everybody. And man, it's so hard to catch a Sorcerer with that type of movement speed plus streak and everything else. But anyways, just trying a lot of different builds with that. So we'll go through the armor sets on this, and then I'll tell you how I would incorporate the ring onto this build. But for now, I was running these two different sets. Now, I was running this pre-Greymore. That one-piece bonus on these was actually higher before Greymore, which is fine, but before Greymore, I think we would hit 32,000 resistances on our back bar, on our defending back bar. And so here we are a medium armor build that can hit 5k weapon damage, and we had 32,000 resistances. This particular build, though, we're going to look at it, and I'll just explain some of my thoughts. But anyways, two separate monster sets with the additional armor bonus. Could I run Celine's here? Yes. Could I run Bloodspawn here? Yes. Or if we run the ring, we're going to break up. We're going to probably put an armor piece here and just a random monster set, maybe more penetration. The second set that we are running is Shacklebreaker, and this is an underutilized or underrated set. There's a rhyme or reason why I'm running this, but I'm running prismatic enchants on everything. And Shacklebreaker fits the bill for what we need. I need a lot of stamina and I need a lot of magicka. And on your Stam sorcerers, the more magicka you have, the more endless sustain you have, and we'll get into that. So anyways, Shacklebreaker, and we are running all well fitted, okay? And then the next set that we are running is Impregnable, and we have infused on all the jewelry pieces, and Impregnable gives you max health, max stam, max magicka, and crit resistance. And we have very good crit resistance on this build. We have very good resistances on this build, and we have endless sustain on this build and 5k weapon damage. And so some people might laugh and say, Shacklebreaker, why would you run that? Or Impreg, why would you run that? That's so silly. But I'm telling you right now, to get all of those stats together is pretty crazy. We are running a Maul two-hander, and it's Nirnhoned, and I haven't changed the enchant on this, so we're just running the Oblivion damage. And then we are running the bow on the back bar, and we have the weapon damage enchant. And so that'll give us 350 extra weapon damage. Now, because of the way medium armor works, that actually scales up, and it puts us right at or near the 5k weapon damage with that on our back bar. And so let's buff up. We're going to look at the abilities here. We'll look at the stats. Actually, real quick. So here we are on our back bar. Spell resistance 28,000 now after Greymore, 28,000, and 3,700, almost 3,800 on our crit resistances. And we're on our defending back bar right now, so we only have 3,600 weapon damage. We have 20,000 max magicka, 32,000 max health. We're down here in CP Imperial City right now, and then just under 30k stamina. And then let's buff up, and we're going to look at our two-hand bar. And when you look at our two-hand bar, you can see that our weapon damage is 3,600, and then like I said, we got a 350 weapon damage, and then because of the way the scaling works on medium armor weapon damage, it puts us at 5k. So 20,000 resistances on our two-hand bar is pretty nice, though. You know, we're a pretty beefy build. And we play with a lot of speed, even without the ring on the build. So unbuffed, let's look at some abilities here. I am running a gap closer. A lot of people do not like using gap closers. I enjoy using a gap closer on a stamina sorcerer, and you'll see how I use that. I will link in the descriptions below this video. I will link the BG footage that I did just a while back, just kind of playing around with this build to see how it felt. But for me, it's nice to use a gap closer to get up on the target to kind of line up my Dizzy Swing. Dizzy Swing's hitbox is hit or miss, and if you play with a lot of speed, you could actually take yourself out of the D-swing hitbox, right? And so the gap closer puts me on them, and it helps me at least get one or two D-swings into them. And we're going to see more and more people playing with a lot of speed too, so I feel like a gap closer is very important to get me to them, right? Imagine both of us are playing with speed. It's going to be like I'm standing on top of a train that's going 60 miles per hour and somebody's on the ground and they throw me a fastball and I'm supposed to hit it with a baseball bat. Like, we're both moving very fast and it's just going to be hard to line things up consistently, right? And so Grit Rush is nice. Also, a regular play that I'll do is I will streak through them, which is my hard CC, and then turn around and gap close right into them, which is a guaranteed crit, and then hit them with a D-swing execute. And so that's a fun little combo that I like to do. We'll play a hit and run style with a Stamsorc, and I think a lot of Stamsorcs like and enjoy that type of play style, but that's what I like to do. So anyways, unbuffed, we're looking at a 6K on our crit rush, and our D-swing is at 11,000. It'll go up to almost 13,000 when we're buffed up. We are running Executioner for that higher scaling execute. However, if you're spending a lot of time in dungeons or you're spending a lot of time in Imperial City where there's a lot of trash mobs, you're going to want to change this from Executioner to Reverse Slice. And the splash damage for that is really nice. It helps with your clear. Like I said, we're running Streak right now, and the tooltip on it's not too bad for being unbuffed, at 55, 5,700 damage. And this is my hard CC. So this is a great form of mobility for me, as well as crit rush too. And so there might be times where I'm fighting two people, I'm outnumbered, I don't like the way it's going. I literally just need to, if I can't streak away for whatever reason, say my magic is low, which is very rarely the case, but if my magic is low, then I just pick a target that's off of me, right? And then I'll just crit charge to them, switch my bow bar, dodge roll for major expedition, and we're gone. And so knowing how to use that, not just to close the gap, but to create space from a target is important. And we are running Camo Hunter. We like the additional weapon critical that it gives us with Major Savagery, and we get the Minor Berserk buff, which is an extra 8% damage buff, and we get that regularly. So this kind of sits on our bar passively. If I want to hunt Nightblades, I can, but this sits on our bar passively for that minor expedition. And just streaking through people will trigger this, and then we got some abilities on our back bar. You can trigger this just by hitting Dawnbreaker on people as well. So unbuffed, our Dawnbreaker of Smiting, we're looking at a 15,000 tooltip on it, and it'll go close to 17,000 tooltip of upfront damage, and then it does 17,000 over 6 seconds. So hits real hard, and it is a hard CC as well against a group. So I do have two hard CCs on this front bar. We've got Streak. I could streak through a group and hard CC them, or I can Dawnbreaker them as well. And on our back bar, we are running Bombard, and Bombard is annoying as hell if you've ever run into it in PvP. But Bombard is a conal attack, and while the radius or the range on it's only 20 meters, it immobilizes any targets it hits and applies a slow movement speed debuff to them, so they'll move at 40% less movement speed, and this allows us to create space and be faster than everybody else. Even without the ring, we can be faster, play faster than everyone else. This Dark Deal is why we have endless sustain on this build, and it is actually our burst heal, I guess you would say. The thing about it to know is it takes 1 second to cast, and if while you are casting it you get hit, you will be stunned, and so you want to use this at the right time and place. But if I need to get my health back up, this is the play for me. And this, like I said, endless sustain. That's how we can run such low recoveries on this build and still be dangerous. So pretty much if you're en route to a fight or kiting, right, line of sighting, you should be looking to use this, put gas back in the tank so you can stay in the fight. We're running Critical Surge, and Crit Surge here gives us our major brutality, so it's our weapon damage buff, and you can see the magic expense on this at 4K. You know, that's, we have ample magicka, so that's great. And we are running Resolving Vigor. This will get up to 17 to 18k tooltip, and it's a very good heal over time over the next 4 seconds. And I think the combination between being able to hit our Vigor and then dodge roll a couple times, we're going to get enough health back into us. It's no problem. And then we are running Hurricane. Obviously, we are Stamsorc, so it does damage over time. Helps proc our Crit Surge as well, so while people are in our hitbox and we're fighting them, as we get crits, we're going to be healing ourselves, and this is gives us our major resolve and minor expedition. So we get an extra 10% movement speed by having this. I'm running Swarming Scion, and to be 100% honest, I haven't played around with this. The build, or the BG footage that I put up was actually pre-Greymore, and I need to take this out. We're going to take it out to Mid-Year Mayhem tonight, you know, and put it in outnumbered situations, see how we do. But I'm interested to play around with Swarming Scion and see how that works, you know, basically just beast mode activated, right, and get on people. So that'll be kind of fun, and I'll keep you posted on that. So we looked at the gear, we looked at the stats, we looked at the abilities. Let's look at the abilities buffed again here real quick. Crit charge 6,600, D-swing 12,000, just under 13,000, like we said, 5,500, and it scales at 400%. We're at 6,200 on our crit surge, and our Dawnbreaker is 16,000, and another 17 over 4 seconds, and our Bombard isn't there for the damage, but it still does 7k damage in a conal attack in front of us, which is nice, and probably why you see people just spamming it, because it occasionally ignores the soft CC cooldown, and you can hit people with it and then turn around and hit them again, and they have to break free, and then turn around and hit them again, they have to break free, and then hit them again, and they have to break free. So if you've been on the receiving end of that, I'm sorry. I think everybody has, but anyways, it doesn't always work. The cooldown on it is odd, but and let's look at. And you can see our vigor is about 2,500 or 1,500, you know, uncrit. 2,500 crits, 1,500, and you know, that's 4K. So our Dark Deal will do 4K or a 6K crit, right? So that's pretty good heals, reliable heals, and then we can dodge roll a lot. So it's no problem at all, even with the sustain that we have, or the recoveries that we have. So, let's look at our food and Mundus here. We are running Bewitched Sugar Skulls, we want that max stat, and then the health recovery is really nice. Right now, I am currently a stage 2 vampire. I will actually be coming off of that and going to a stage 1 vampire. There's no need for me to be at stage 2, and so that will be one change that I make. And when we do that, um, it will be much better. So our health recovery will actually go up considerably. So these stats will get better when I come off of one stage of vampire. So that's pretty nice. So you can see our health allotment right now. I have 28 points into health, and in CP Imperial City, 32,000 Stamsorc, 32,000 health Stamsorc zipping around killing people with 5k weapon damage. That's pretty crazy. Do I need that much health? Probably not, but in BGs, it's been a lot of fun. If you want to come off your attributes and move them over to stamina and push this up to 35,000, do it. That's fine. You do you. I kind of like where this build's at right now, and I think that 32,000 in really crazy outnumbered situation is going to be pretty good for tonight as well out there in Imperial City. Let's look at our champion points, and we are done. I have 50 points into Blessed, and that's going to be our healing done. It's going to increase it. 60 points into Mastered Arms, and it doesn't look like my CP is optimized just yet. I'd probably go at 61 or 64 to get that up over the 21%. One more point, basically, will do that for you. And then our Physical Weapon Expert, we have 40 points into that, so that way our light and heavy attacks hit harder. Precise strikes, it looks like one more point into that will put you over 21%, so you might want to do that. You could maybe come off a little bit of penetration just to get that extra point there. And then mighty, we are at 35 points for a physical, and maybe you steal a couple points from this just to get that at the 9% mark to make that a nice number for you to optimize your CP as best you can. And here's where I differ on my builds. A lot of people run heavy into Hardy, and they run heavy into Elemental Defender. And some people will actually zone out, or they'll stop watching the video as soon as they see the resistances and they see the damage, and they're like, ooh, that's the build for me. And then they miss all of this, and then they will say, I don't know why I don't have the resistances that you have. I'm nowhere near that. And it's because of this right here. They put a lot of points into Hardy. They put a lot of points in an Elemental Defender so they can get Unchained. And while Unchained is very important, you know, every time you get CC'd when you break free, your next basic vigor, right, is only an 80% cost after you break free. And I don't really care about that. I want to push max stats or max resistances, and so what I do is if I'm running a heavy armor, medium armor, or light armor, I always put points into the armor focus of it. And if you put points into the armor focus, you can see that increases my physical resistances by 4,400. And if I put points into spell shield, I increase my spell resistance by 4,400. And so that right there gives me an additional physical and spell resistances on this build of 4,400 in a medium armor build. Now if I were a Nord, I'd get another 4,000 resistances on top of that. That's an 8,000 resistance swing. And so that's why people's builds look very different than mine when they're looking at the stats, because they're not doing this. They're following everyone else, and they're putting 60 points or 50 points into this. So anyways, I go for max stats. It's been to work out very well, and kind of a reason for that is if I were to put 60 points in this, and let's say it's going to reduce an incoming attack by 10%. So let's say it's a 10,000 damage hit coming in on me, and this is going to 60 points here is going to lower it by 10% or 12% or whatever. It's going to lower that damage income by 1,000 damage on a big hit, right? I'm still going to eat 9,000 damage, but if I come over here and I drop 60 points into physical resistance and it was a big physical damage hit, what's that do to your damage income, right? And so that's what I like to see. And most of the time, it's not the 10,000 hits, right? It's a 2,500, a 3,000, 10% of 2,500. You just saved yourself 250 damage. Like, come on. You know, our crit surge can out heal that. Our vigors can out heal that, no problem. And so just be more beefy, right? That's my thought process. We are running crit resistance. I've got 30 into that, and ironclad. All the biggest hits in the game are going to be direct damage hits, and this cuts it by 21%. I probably would take 1 point out of this and put 1 point into this just to get it over the 21% to optimize that. Just so you guys know, nothing here, which a lot of people will laugh at that, but I do this on all my builds, and they're all super tanky. So I don't care when I break free. I'm going to be able to hit a vigor. I'm not worried about saving 80% just for the sake of putting points into these. I got 60 points into healing received, so it gives me an extra 12%, 12.5% healing received. 1 point in the siphoner, so it gives them one extra thing to cleanse. 45 points into Warlord. We are going to be CC'd and we will need to break free. I do want to cut the edge off that a little bit. 60 points into Mooncalf and 60 points into Arcanus and 44 into Tenacity. I will tell you this, to optimize this, you should take 8 points out of this, put an extra 4 here, and I think that's going to put you at the 13% to optimize those. So sorry I haven't had that done just yet, but this is you know, wanted to get the build out there for you guys. So anyways, go 64 here, and that will be perfect for you guys. And we've got 60 into tumbling, and maybe you take 1 extra point out of tenacity, and you put it into tumbling to get that up to a nice round 21%. But we do dodge roll a lot, and we are running well fitted, so that's the play. So one other thing on this build, we're using this skin right now, but our penetration is good, and then when we buff up, I think we hit like 7,500 penetration. Let's double check here. Yeah, 7,400 penetration. And so if I decide to put the Ring of the Wild Hunt on this build, I'm not going to lose any weapon damage. I'm going to lose a little bit of resistance, about 1,400 resistances, but what we would do is put the ring on there on the build, and we would lose this 1,400 resistance because I would an impreg, so we will lose about 100 weapon damage is what we would lose. So we're still near 5k. That's no problem because of I can put weapon damage on the Ring of the Wild Hunt, but I'm not infusing it. I want to keep that swift enchant or trait on my ring. So I would lose about 100 weapon damage. We're still near 5k, so it's no problem. But anyways, because we'd be switching this ring out with the Ring of the Wild Hunt, I now need another impreg armor piece to complete my impreg 5 piece. So I would just get a medium shoulder impregnable, and we would put it there. So we'd lose 100 weapon damage, we'd lose 1,400 armor, and then I would switch this. Monster set to probably something that gives me additional pen, and that will put us at or near the 9,000 penetration, 10,000 penetration. That's good. So one other thing too is we're running the Warrior Mundus for additional weapon damage, and when you are looking at the race, we are an orc, so it's hidden by the skin right here. Orc is really nice. We get additional weapon damage from it, additional movement speed, and some health, and we get some heals coming in, and then some extra stamina. So I like orc. Like I said, if you ran Nord, you would, with this current build, not with the changes we talked about with this current build, but if you were a Nord, you would be at resistance cap on a medium armor build that's near 5k weapon damage. So that's pretty scary. But anyways, we looked at the gear, we looked at the stats buffed, we looked at the abilities, buffed, we covered our food, we covered our Mundus, and we talked about what changes I would make, and then we looked at our CP. That's the build. Check out that BG that I did. I was in a silly mood that day, and I thought, let's put something funny together with zombies and whatever, and so check that out. Everybody be safe out there. COVID-19 still in effect, and we've got rioting and all protests and all kinds of crazy stuff in the world. Be smart and be safe. Thanks.